Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Uncomfortably Candid podcast. Today, I want to talk about decision making and delayed gratification. This is so important for goal achievement. Growing up in with technology, where you can get things at the press of a button, instant information, um, it has become a really big deterrent, not only in goal achievement, but goal setting. We set goals that we think are going to happen overnight or, you know, that are don't challenge us and they're going to be easy and easily achievable. And then we get disappointed because they're not actually the goals that we wanted to achieve. I Before doing this podcast, before starting my business, I would do everything to avoid and procrastinate doing what I actually should be. And that was doing things that was going to get my business up and running because I knew it wasn't going to provide this instant, pleasurable feeling. So instead of sitting down and working on my business, I would clean my whole apartment because I knew that would give me that instant pleasurable feeling. So instant gratification doesn't have to be scrolling on your phone. It doesn't have to be the dopamine fix from Instagram, scrolling on Instagram. It can look like something that's actually good. And that's where it gets tricky because you're like, oh, well, I did something good, but actually it doesn't contribute to any of your long-term goals. It was a short-term, it gratified your short-term pleasurable fix. And we all, as humans, want pleasure. We don't want uncomfortable emotions. They're not fun. So, me avoiding doing things for my business because uh, I knew that it was going to take time for it to look successful and I didn't, fear of failure. And it, you have to, and I know I'm talking about values again. What do you value? And I mean, I know you can sit there and say, well, Kaylee, I can't work in a messy apartment, or I can't work like, I can't work in a messy house. So clean one room and work in there, or go somewhere else and work. Get out of your house, change the environment. Because, and not saying that you should never clean your house, but you have to be aware and be intentional with your time. You have to be aware that, oh, I'm avoiding this because of this uncomfortable feeling. Because procrastination and distraction is not authentic. And that's what this whole podcast is about. Being candid, pushing through uncomfortable feelings, and delayed gratification is an uncomfortable feeling. Will there ever be gratification from this? I think that uncertainty aspect of it is a huge thing too. If it doesn't happen right away, if the gratification doesn't happen right away, will it ever? And that's something that you have to be okay with. And that's why you have to tie the things that you do in life to your values and what's most important to you. Because if it's important to you, does it really matter if there's ever validation or like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to do things because you want to, and it doesn't really matter whether you get this pleasurable feeling from it. That's a huge thing to learn how to be okay with because it's uncomfortable. But that's kind of what we're here to talk about. We're talking about uncomfortable emotions and delaying gratification for something that you don't know is ever going to give you gratification is a big deal. And you have to be okay. Well, what if this never, what if this, what if I work all this time on something that's not giving me gratification and it fails? What if? What if is the worst question that you could possibly ask yourself. Or I should. Should cycle. The should cycle is a nasty trap to get in as well. But the what if it fails is a spirit of lack. Or it's that all or nothing thinking, which we'll talk about in another episode. But what if it succeeds? What if it fails, but it helps you learn something that you actually needed to learn? And I've talked about this before, but is learning, is growth successful enough? And we can talk about success more in another podcast because I have a lot to talk about on expectations of success. But I really wanted to emphasize the need for sitting in uncomfortable feelings when you're trying to achieve a goal because it's not always going to feel great, especially up front. Well, and this is what I help people. This is how I help people decide on setting goals and achieving goals is what do you value? What's important to you? That's how we set goals. And number two, what is the worst thing that could happen? What do you fear? And then helping them overcome that fear by pushing through uncomfortable emotions and understanding that when you've actually solidified and internalized your personal values, that living an authentic life is staying true to those values no matter how uncomfortable they are. And that's why I stress values so much, because you can delay gratification when you're authentically following and doing something that you value and behaving congruently with that value. So, anyway, I hope this encourages someone that is procrastinating, feeling distracted, and if you want to connect, if this is something that you struggle with, I'm super passionate about it because it is something that I struggled with forever. Um, Reach out, go to my website, and yeah, stay connected. Thanks for listening.